being Native American and how I've ended up where I'm at today and some of the things I'm trying to do with the Native American kids today. First of all, my people was recognized back in the early 1500s. If any of you ever heard of Sir Walter Raleigh, came over in the eastern North Carolina, landed, and then he went back to England. And before that, there was no history of my people as far as who we were and all that. But history will tell you we are part of the Eastern Sioux, Cherokee, and Tuscarora nations, which was in that part of North Carolina at the time. So when Sir Walter Raleigh went back to England, and when he came back, he left a group of people in North Carolina. When he came back, they had disappeared. We are Native Americans, but yet we have English names. We lost our language, we lost our religion. Maybe a good thing, maybe not a good thing. But Lumbee comes from a river, which is a river that starts in the Mississippi and runs down to the ocean. And when it comes through North Carolina, the river is called Lumber River. So we came across the name Lumbee from the Lumber River. We are the biggest tribe in the eastern part of North Carolina, approximately 60,000 strong. One of the big keys to my tribe is we do not live on a reservation. We are not reservation Indians. We chose in the 1930s to not be on a reservation, and I personally feel that that was the best decision we ever made. We are very educated. At this particular time, we have approximately 15 banks that's owned and run by Native Americans. We have a university. We have lawyers, judges, which would be hard to find if you go to a lot of Native American reservations today. Because we are independent, we are self-supported, and by this, we have been able to become successful in North Carolina like anyone else. So when I talk to tribes today and I talk to kids, and it's hard to say you need a college education, it's hard to say you need to be a good businessman, because when you have a government and you have casinos that is taking care of a people, the one question they often ask then is why then do we need an education, and then why do we need a great job when I'm getting $5,000 or $10,000 a month as it is? Well, if you go back to the reservations, which I do 3 or 4 times, in fact, before I came here today, I talked to a tribe in Milwaukee about going and talking to their kids, working with their kids. And as I explained to him, if you're going to change, you have to start someplace. And what I'm trying to do is work with kids on reservations to recognize the talents they have. At the time when I played Major League Baseball, I was the only Native American playing. Today, I think we have one Native American, which is the center fielder for the Boston Red Sox. Very, very good player. Now, the point is there's a lot of Native Americans that could be where the center fielder for the Boston Red Sox are today. But when you have an upbringing that do not teach that positive, and you do not have positive role models, not to say that Native Americans are not positive, not to say that Native Americans are not people like you and I that have pride, that have all the same things we have, but they do live in different conditions. Now, I'd also like to talk to you about art. Art, to me, as an artist, we are the most important people in the world. Now, I know all you guys, we got some lawyers here today, and we got some real estate guys, and we have other very great business people here in this room. But all of you, as I, are artists. Everybody's an artist. But you know, one of the things, or two of the things that's taken out of school today is religion and the arts. Why is that? It's mind-boggling to me. You can have a degree from any college, but if you don't know who you are, and if you have no idea of where you came from and where you're headed, what's the point? You can have all the money in the world, but until you connect with yourself as an individual, and that's what art is to me, is I trying to find out who I am as an individual through my art. And that's why every person in the world should have art appreciation. Because through art, which you do every day, every decision you make every day of your life has to do with art. Every minute of the day, you're going to see certain things, and you're going to be involved in situations, and you're going to meet people. If you have an art appreciation, you are affected to the point you makes you a whole completely different person. When you look at a tree, for instance, as an artist, you just do not see the grains and you do not see the image of a tree. You see everything that tree represents. Now, our Creator, how in the world, or how does He communicate with us? That's why I say art is the most important thing a person can have, because to me that's how your Creator keeps in touch with you. Through feelings. And how are you affected by your feelings? You are affected by the things that you see and the things you touch and the expressions and how you mingle and how you communicate with your fellow man. And there's an artistic way of doing that. Now, when you take on being a professional artist like I do, then the first thing you want to do is try to find out who you are as an individual so you can create from the inside out. So when you look at this painting today, this painting represents who I am as an individual. The way I lay the painting out, the colors that I use, the feeling you get when you look at this painting, that's who I am. So it doesn't matter whether you're a lawyer, a real estate agent, race cars, or whatever it is, you still are doing the same thing every day. Every expression that comes out of you is part of you as an artist. Now, as an artist, I have to be very business-minded. There's a lot of things I would love to paint. There's a lot of colors I would love to use, for instance. But I am not able to do that to a point because I do know society to buy and purchase my work would not be comfortable with that. So you are limited. Being an artist also can be very depressing as a professional artist. Because you see, I never know from one day to the next when I'm going to sell my next painting. I never know how much money I'm going to make from year to year. I can create, and right now I'm creating the best work I've ever created in my life, but I'm making a third of the money I made 4 or 5 years ago because of the economy, because of a lot of things that's going on in business. So I meet a lot of young people that say, I want to be a professional artist, or I want to be an artist. That's great. The two things I say is, you can be anything you want to be. It's left up to you. But you better learn the business end of the game before you decide this is how you want to live your life and go forward to try to make a living to survive in society. You know, in the 1700s, as baseball players are today, the superstars of the world, the artists were the superstars. You think about Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, they were the superstars. They were the people that demanded a certain amount of money for their work. As they say, things change. Now, I want you to think about another thing when it comes to art. Think about if we lived in a world that was black and white. Would that affect us? Would that affect how we think as individuals? Would that give us a negative attitude? Think about the world that we do live in, which is full of color. Does that give you a positive attitude? Does that make you want to break out and do things, especially like in the spring, when the flowers come out and the trees are blooming? That's what art's about. Now I'm going to want to get around to the subject that probably most of you are here for, is the baseball. Oh, by the way, getting back to the art, while I was in high school, my mom and dad sacrificed for me to go to art school. I finished high school with a commercial art degree. The first painting I ever sold was for $5. I now sell one painting for more money than my parents used to make in a whole year, so the sacrifice was worth it. I now have an honorary doctor's degree from University of North Pembroke, North Carolina. But it is no accident that I am who I am. The same way in baseball. At the age of approximately 7 years old, I decided that I really wanted to be a professional artist and a professional baseball player. That's when I started working on my game. That's when I started mentally preparing myself. Had nothing to do with me being from a reservation, Native American group in North Carolina, where I was raised in a log house, kept warm by a fireplace, went outside for a bathroom, especially in the cold winter times. All that did was just made me more determined to become who I wanted to be. Now in baseball, I signed with the Cincinnati Reds. 3 years in the minor leagues, MVP twice, 2 batting titles. In the 70s, I knew that's exactly what I had to do to get to the big leagues. If I would have been an average baseball player, I would have never made the big leagues. Because that's when Martin Luther King and the other people was trying to create freedom. And Sparky Anderson told me, "You'll never play for me." So I said, okay, I'll just go out and become MVP again, and I'll just win another batting title. Ended up being traded to the San Diego Padres, 1975, hit .321, the only year I played. Because a good friend of Jerry Gross is Mr. Buzzy Bavasi. And I had some problems, so I never played anymore. Lifetime batting average though of .280. Now, I want to tell you a story which has to do with spirituality. The last game I played in the major leagues in Yankee Stadium, I went 3 for 5. And as the game was over and I'm leaving the dugout, something said, you need to go back and look over the ballpark because this is the last game you'll ever play in the big leagues. Now, the funny thing was I was a free agent at the time. I was drafted by Minnesota, number 1. Minnesota, I was the first guy they drafted. LA Dodgers, Cleveland Indians, but I never played in the big leagues again. Because spiritually, that's not where I believe God wanted me. So he took me out of it. And I've been a better human being. I've enjoyed my life since then because this is what he intended for me to be. This doesn't bring me $16 million like the ball players today, but I'm a very happy individual. Because you see, I'm doing what my Creator wants me to do. He gave me my dream to be a Major League Baseball player. Then when he saw that it was time for me to move on, he took me out of it. And that's why ever since I played Major League Baseball to today, I've been an artist. And that's who I am. Not an ex-Major League Baseball player. I'm an artist. So any of you that have kids and they say, Dad, Mom, I want to be a musician or I want to be an artist, please don't say like a lot of parents. Honey, no, you can't do that because those are starving people. Those are the people that don't make it in life. You'll be worried all the time. That's fine. If they really believe in what they're doing, they'll find a way. They'll find a way to make it. Don't take their dreams from them. Don't take their dreams. When the Creator, that's what he meant for them to be. Don't take it away from them. Just because they are not able to make $1 million a year. They may end up making $10,000 a year, but they'll be happy. And they'll be productive to society. Is there any questions?
Gene, I got a baseball question.
Yeah.
Back when you guys played, nobody went on the disabled list. Yet today it was announced that the Padres will probably start the season with 8 players on the disabled list. Last year, I think they were up to 16 at one point. Yet medicine is better, training is better, diet is better. What's the story here with all these baseball players breaking down? And you guys never did, and you didn't have all of this high-tech stuff.
Boy, that's a hard one. Because I'm not going to stand here and be negative. I promised Richard.
I said, don't be negative.
So,
You didn't know this question was coming.
I promised Richard I wouldn't get into some of those good old baseball stories. I don't know, guys. They have weight rooms. They have 2 trainers, and one of them's a lady. I don't get that. Ooh, she's nice looking. I mean, Padres, that is. Oh. They have all the doctors in the world. They're making $10, $20, $15 million a year. You know what I had to do in the off season? I had to go home and paint and hope to sell a painting for $20 so I could put gas in my car. That's what I did in the off season because when you're making $8,000 and $10,000 in the 70s, you're still poor. You're still poor. I don't care if you are a Major League Baseball player. You're still poor. I don't know. I don't know. I don't. I know one thing. When we played, if you got hurt, the guy that took your job, you may not have a job anymore. That's one of the good things. Because you had guys waiting to take your job, and they'll play for nothing. I mean, they weren't going to argue like the third baseman for the Padres. No, I'm only signing 1-year contract for $10 million because, you see, I'm worth more than that. I mean, we didn't have that. If you got hurt, sorry, man. The guy behind you If he comes up and he does the job, you might not have a job, or you will get traded somewhere else. I mean, I don't have an answer for that one. I really don't. Any other questions?
Why wouldn't Sparky let you play for him? And by the way, I don't like Sparky, just so you know.
I could have managed the Cincinnati Reds. I mean, Pete Rose, Joe Morgan, Johnny Bench, Tony Perez, Concepcion, Geronimo, couldn't hit, but now he could field. And then they had two spots there that was, and eventually they got Griffey, remember Griffey? And then they had Dreesen. He could have went to sleep, like, for instance, Billy Martin used to come to the ballpark, and if Mickey Mantle was in town, it was a bad day for Billy. Because when him and Mickey went out, the next day was off day for Billy. Because it was like he'd come in and go, hey, Elston, or go, Yoki, take over today. I'm going to take a nap. But anybody could have managed that team. But anyway, to get back to your question, he didn't like me. Just the bottom line, he didn't like me.
I don't like him.
Yeah, well, he didn't like me, so. Any other questions? Oh, I got a Yogi Berra story for you. First, when I went to New York, first 6 or 7 times at bat, I didn't get any hits. In fact, Billy Martin said to me, he said, they gave me the wrong scouting report on you. I said, what's that, Billy? He goes, you can field, but you can't hit. I said, no. I'll get it going. So I go in, and I go to Yoki. I go, Yoki, I got a problem. I'm not hitting. He goes, that's the problem. You're not hitting. Any other questions, guys?
We're good, I think.
Yes.
Where do you display or show or sell your artwork? Do you have a website?
I'll give you a brochure before I leave. Anyone that would like a brochure, and I only do private shows. I don't have galleries. When you talk about someone taking 60% of my work, I have a problem. So I'd rather make 50% less and do my own thing than for somebody to take 60% of what I make. So I work out of my studio, my home, and I only do private shows. Be glad to give anybody a brochure before you leave. Any more questions? Questions? Yes, ma'am.
What's your website that displays your work?
I'll give you my brochure, but www.genelocklear.com. Thank you very much, guys. It was a pleasure for me to be here today. Thank you now.
Jay.
Thank you very much, Gene. So I always have some observations I'll throw you out there. You know, Gene was talking about how you have to be able to hold a vision, and vision is kind of how you build hope and promise for the future. And you begin to see how that gets broken down in communities where there isn't much in the way of either parental figures or people who have had a history of any kind of success to demonstrate to a population how you can go from A to B. Very, very critical. And I was interested, you were saying art and creativity allows us to dream. I think that's very, very true. I was struck by your talk about your choice of colors, which you said had to do with a commercial choice. And I thought that that's an interesting metaphor for the filters we use in choosing who we are or what we choose to even do as a profession. We all have those filters. Another comment I thought was color is our friend. And I was struck by something which is something we all deal with every day, which is color is used in branding, for example, to elicit emotions in each of us as we look at any brand. So don't think that color is not important. It is very important to the choices we make every day. And then I was reminded by your last comment about something that I say virtually every month that I'm standing up here, which is look at what your why is. When you sit down and we're about to do our table time, it's important for you to understand what you're passionate about. It's really twice as important to be engaged in that kind of work, something that you truly cherish and you like. Don't wait till you're 75, 80 to do that. Try to do it now, or employ that in whatever way you can now in your life. Look forward to having you back here in April on the 17th.
Can I do one quick minute?
And indeed.
Yeah, and then we'll do table time. Okay, just two real quick stories. One reason why what Gene says resonates with me so much, I actually went to high school, El Capitan High School out in Lakeside, baseball powerhouse to this day. Back then, there was no casino out in Lakeside, I mean at Verona Indian Reservation. The kids from the reservation, Verona is part of Lakeside, came to El Capitan High School. Back in the 70s when I was there, dirt poor community. Now, of course, it's a very wealthy community because of the casino. And the amazing thing to me is the issues that the kids are facing are exactly the same 40 years later. In other words, the tremendous wealth hasn't made any difference whatsoever in terms of the issues that are being faced in my old hometown of Lakeside. Excuse me, on the Verona Indian Reservation. Second story, very interesting baseball story. My dad being superintendent of schools, 1967, he was superintendent of a district in Sunnyvale. It's school picture time in October, right after baseball season, right? The Cy Young Award winner in 1967, anybody know who that was, National League? Gene, I think he was done before you came up. His name was Mike McCormick, won 22 games with the Giants in 67. More than Marichal, more than Perry, won the Cy Young Award. Come out for school pictures in my dad's school district. The guy, the baseball player working in the off-season, schlepping school pictures for the school picture company was 1967 Cy Young Award winner Mike McCormick. Got him to sign a baseball while I got my school picture taken. I still have that autograph. I don't think Barry Bonds would ever do that in the off-season, would he? But that was baseball in 1967, or when Gene played in the 1970s. Cy Young Award winner. One of my dad's longtime janitors in his school district was Jim Landis in the off-season. Won 5 Gold Gloves with the Chicago White Sox in the late 50s and early 60s. School janitor in the off-season in my dad's school district. How times have changed. Anyway, table time. Have fun. Thank you.